Composition is one of those things that can really be frustrating for new artists and experienced artists alike. Composition has a lot of rules, and the rules are sometimes kind of arbitrary. They don't really necessarily always make sense. Sometimes it's almost like hopping up and down on one foot in a circle, and somehow that'll bring you good luck. Composition is way too rule-based for my taste. I'm much more into the mentality that when you're working through your body of work, whatever it is that you do, you're going to develop over time a sense for what works for you and what doesn't work for you compositionally. And I think that that's the better approach. I think too many rules tends to stifle individuality. It tends to create very static, very rigid artwork that doesn't allow the artist to really express themselves in unique ways. Because I've seen many, many good compositions that don't follow the compositional rules. Now, that said, Coreal Painter does provide you with some really nice basic tools for helping when you're having compositional problems. And that's the way I would approach these tools. I wouldn't approach these tools as tools that would help me start a document. I would approach these tools as when I'm having a problem with my composition and I can't figure out why it's not working the way that I want it to. Break out the compositional tools and then see if they don't help you solve that problem. Now, the first compositional tool that we have available to us is not the one that we're going to look at first. If you come down here on the toolbar, you'll see that we have the Divine Proportion tool. And if you click on that, hold down, you'll see underneath that we have the Layout Grid. And that's the one that we're going to currently work with. Now, if you come up to the Canvas menu and you come down to Compositions, you'll find that we have the Show Divine Proportion and Show Layout Grid commands. This is roughly the same thing as clicking the eyeball on the property bar. Now, in addition to this, we do have a palette for this as well. And if we come under Window to Compositional Panels, and then we come to Layout Grid, we can turn this on and off by clicking this checkbox. And then you can see that we can control a lot of different aspects of this grid. But first, let's talk about the point of this grid. If we're working on a drawing or painting, generally speaking, we do not want to put something in the dead center of the document. And this is the mistake that most beginners make, is they put their focal point right here, dead center of the document, and that just doesn't work for composition. Very rarely you can make it work, but generally speaking, this is not a desirable thing. If I go ahead and hit Control A to select all, and then backspace to clear that, the rule of thirds, which is what we're looking at right now, will enable us to find the intersections of our document divided by 3 across and 3 down, and these intersections are going to give us placements for focal points that are going to work much better than trying to put something in the direct center of the document. Generally speaking, you only want one of these to be your main focal point. However, you can line up to any of these. It doesn't matter which one, although I tend to prefer this one right here that I put the X on. The options that we have, and I'll again hit Control A and backspace just to clear those pencil lines out, are to change the number of divisions from 3 to whatever it is you want, horizontal or vertical. We can change the size of the overall spread of the horizontal and vertical from 100% to whatever. Now, the important thing to know about this is that when we're working with any document, it's going to automatically divide that document by 3 using this. Now, this is not going to be true of the other tool that we're going to look at in the next video. The other thing you'll notice here is that we do have a little lock symbol here. And basically what this is doing is saying, okay, we're going to lock these two so that when I change one, the other changes with it. So I could do the same thing up here, where if I changed it from 3 to 4, I could then lock it and it would automatically put 4 into the other field. We can also rotate the entire grid. We can enable or disable the horizontal or vertical, and we can also change the color of the horizontal and vertical and change the overall opacity of the grid. Now, once we have a setup that we like, that we feel is good for us, we can come up here to the Add button, and this will add a preset. Now, I'm not going to bother doing that, but if you do have presets, all you need to do is click this drop-down menu, and you can choose from various different presets. Now, that said, the strength of working with this rule of thirds layout grid is that it will work with any document. I mean, it doesn't matter what your aspect ratio of the document is, because this will automatically divide it by 3 going across and 3 going down, and it will end up with a rule of thirds that will always work for compositional purposes.